In today's unboxing, we take a look at Kingdom Death Monster. Here we have the core game. It is the 1.5 edition, and this thing is absolutely massive. Let's take a look.
There are hobbyists among us, geniuses with the ability to play any game they want to. In 1978, a corporation known as The Interior isolated a young hobbyist named John and exploited his genius for their entertainment.
Then one day, their hobbyist ran away. Once upon a time, there was a place of carved faces. A man with a lantern lay sleeping a dreamless sleep. The man knew nothing. One day, the man woke up. He rubbed the dried ink caked over his eyes and opened them. Around him, he saw other people stirring, and beyond, a horizon of unbroken darkness. A woman approached the man with the lantern. Her soft hand reached out to him. They had no words. They were a mystery to each other. Suddenly, a monster emerged from the darkness, its eyes wild with hunger. It attacked. The people were no match for the monster. It tore their flesh and crushed their bones with its teeth. Some it devoured whole. Overcome with terror and grief, the man with the lantern collapsed to the ground. Cold stone noses pushed into his side. There was no escape. But the man did not want to die. Desperately grasping at the stone faces, he felt a crack and tore at it with all his might. A piece of stone came free. It was sharp and deadly. The man with the lantern scrambled to his feet, his weapon clenched in his fist. He took a deep breath and roared into the dark. Somewhere in the place of stone faces, nameless men and women stand together. They have nothing but the need to survive and a lantern to light their struggle.
Well, I thought we would pick up this spoiler review starting here with the book. I've gone ahead and flipped to where we kind of left off. Though I don't think I will go page by page. We'll just flip around and take a look at it. So you will see, what kind of stuff, how the book is laid out. But I really don't want to go, page by page into this thing. So here we have the narrative for the first story. And we will go through and kind of look at this initial rules a little bit. We can see how it kind of lays out and how they kind of draw you through, that first story going in. It's very cool. And then at the end, there is no index or anything, but there is a nice little, looks like it has a list of all the terms that are in here. So you will be able to look up what you want, but it would have been nice if this had page numbers to go along with it, so you could go back to the different sections and the rules. But being that this is written out as a storybook, not necessarily a rule book, I can kind of understand why they don't have page numbers. I am betting page numbers, there would just be a ton of page numbers, because they go into like Stranger in multiples of the scenarios, multiples of the days and everything, and you really don't want to go into that. You just need to know what it is for each one. So in this type of rule book, I can kind of understand it more so than other ones that are just straight up rule books. And it looks like, oh, that's kind of nice. It has a nice little comic like bit here in the end, and then the white speaker. Interesting. White line showdown. So here, as you're fighting the different monsters, you'll go back to here and see how they're set up. So that's cool. The butcher. And then here they have, so the different types of events can happen throughout the book. So when you do, it'll tell you where to go, I believe. And then you'll go and you'll find that little section, and you'll see what you need to roll or what happens or what have you. different ages. And then here's an example of, as you're going through, you will do different things that it'll tell you to go to a certain section depending on what you're doing, and you'll roll the dice so you can see what kind of events, what happens, so you don't know what all is going on. And I realized that within this one, if they did the red letter, the red blocking, everything would be red here, but sometimes I have a hard time not accidentally reading ahead, looking further down than I need to. It would have been nice if here on all of these roll sections, if it had one of those, red sections where you have to put over a red, card or whatever, so you could read what it is and then put the card over after you've rolled to see what exactly your outcome is. I would have preferred, I wish they would have done something like that, but very cool. I do like the book. It's laid out nicely from what I can see here. Again, I haven't actually used it yet, so using it might be completely different. You might have a different of opinion once you actually you might go, oh no, the layout was terrible, but just from what I've seen here, I do like the layout. I do like what I'm seeing, and I like the font size. There's plenty of pictures. It looks fairly easy to read. So all of that is very promising. And then of course, it being just a hardbound book, with multiples of these right here. Because you'll know when you're going into your hunt, hey, I'm going to hunt a white lion, a screaming, whatever it is. So you probably could go in there and put your marker down to that, put your marker to whatever it is, your story, what have you. So just these in here. It's one of those super simple, again, with a lot of this game, its beauty is in its simplicity. Just simple, built-in, page markers really help, add just that little bit here, to the book that I really like. So that is our rule book. Up first, we have what I thought was going to be a set of spoiler items, being that this is some black cards. I thought this was going to be the rare gear, the spoiler stuff that they were trying to make sure kept secret, but in fact, it is not. These are just dividers for all of the other things so as you put things away, you can find them easier. I love that the game came with dividers. This is awesome. And since we're looking at dividers, we might as well go to the next set. These are the ones for the American Standard cards. So these would be for your AI decks, your hit locations, all of that kind of stuff. This is definitely going to make bringing the game and finding the things that you need a whole lot easier. Here we're going to start going through all the different gear. Up first is this final lantern. This, as far as I can tell at first glance, is the only one that is a double-sided item card. All the rest have an actual, kind of similar backs with the item, on the front. So here we have our starting gear. Those founding stones that we read. So everybody has one of those, and then a cloth. I'm guessing those probably are the two only items here. But again, they do give us plenty. Yep. And then next we have rare gear. Here we have the gear cards for the skinnery. They all have this same back. Again, a lot of this does look like duplicates, but that is definitely okay in this type of game. You want to make sure that you have plenty of cards to be able to give all of your people an item. Here are the Blacksmith cards. They all have the same Blacksmith back. So many of these are labeled lanterns. It'd be interesting to see if you will be able to take those lanterns that you started the game with and convert them, turn them into more usable items. Here we have the organ grinder cards. They all have this same back. Let's go ahead and take a look at these. Lucky Charm, I'm almost expecting that to be a foot. Rabbit's toe, rabbit's foot kind of thing going on. Stone noses, that's interesting. Here we have the Bone Smith gear. I am liking these different gears, how they have different things. It's definitely, when you have so many items in a game, it's definitely going to make finding the right one as you earn things, as you create things, a whole lot easier, being that the backs are separate and that they do have those index or those break cards. Here we have these stone circle cards, all with this common back. Here is the barber surgeon gear with its common back. I do find it interesting that on most of these cards there are 3 of each, not 4, being that there are 4 characters that I believe you usually bring onto the hunt. So the fact that there's 3 is kind of interesting. That means you cannot always have your 4 guys, decked out the exact same. We have the Mask Maker cards. It is one of the smaller sets of cards. Here we have the leather worker gear. And then the plumery, or plumery, feather, so this must be plumery. Next we have the Exhausted Lantern Horde. Some of these items look just absolutely vicious. Oxidized Lantern Sealed. So this is kind of interesting. So I'm wondering, as you're going through the game, if your items can get damaged. So this is what would happen. Interesting. Next we have Caterium with its common back. there's that harp that we saw. Final set of gear here is the Weapon Crafter with its common back. Up next, we will look at our different location cards. They all have the same just flat black back. So here we can see our first three. Up next, we have our location cards. They all have the same flat black back. So here we can see our first three. Final one. Up next, we have our settlement event cards. We're up first. We have our first day. And that's the only one that looks different so far. Yep, still settlement. Now when it comes to the more traditional or American standard size cards, I figured I would start with these because these are the only ones that I didn't really find a divider that made sense for them. So they seem to be a little out of place. I'm not quite sure where to put them, so here they are first. We have the blue lens, open and closed. Green. Impossible. Red, open and closed. Here we have the vermin cards. They all have this same vermin back. Here are these strange resources. They all have this common back. That first one that you see is the exact same as this. So it's iron. Looks like we got a couple of those. More than a couple of those. Here are the basic hunt events. They have this same hunt events. This right here is the same as our first one up, a random event. Random. With our only exception is 2 of these are labeled special hunt events, and they have their own unique backs. Up next we have our armor sets, and I do believe that each card has an identical back for itself, just male or female version, or image that is. And then finally the white lion. Here are our innovation cards. They all have this common back. Here we are going to have our weapon proficiencies with the specialization on one side and then the mastery on the other. Up next we have the disorders. They all have this common back. Here are our fighting arts with this common back. There we go. Some of these cards are sticking fairly well. They are new. Here are our secret fighting arts with this common back. It is the only one that has a different color. These are the red, has that red back. These must be very powerful. Now on to our basic resources with that common basic resource back. And here we have our terrain cards with the common terrain back. The next set all have this common Kingdom Death M back. So I'm assuming they go here with M universal cards. And there's a couple of those. And then I kind of got it out of order a little bit. There's 4 of each of these numbered. Up next we have the cards for our monsters. There are 2 different kinds, ones that you can hunt and ones that will come on you for events. We have the white lion, the screaming antelope, and the phoenix. For each of them there are AI cards. There are hit location cards, hunt cards, and rare item cards. Up first we have the white lion with his hunt cards. Up next we have his rare item cards. Up next we have his hit location cards. And finally, we have his AI cards. And then, of course, each creature also has a basic action. Up next, we have the Screaming Antelope with his movement card and basic action on the other side. We will start off with his hit location cards. And then move on to his items. And onto his hit location cards. And finally, his AI cards. Come on, there we go. Up next, we have the Phoenix with his location stats, or his character monster stats, and a basic action on the other side. We will once again start with his hunt cards. and move into his resource cards. And onto his hit location cards. And finally, his AI cards. Up next, we have the creatures that will come into your settlement and attack you. They are the Watcher, the Butcher, the Kingsman, the Hand, and the Gold Smoke Knight. For our monsters, I thought we would go in alphabetical order, starting here with the Butcher. Here is his stats card, with the opposite side being his basic action. Then, like the 5 that come here in the base game, they only have 2 other decks. They have the AI deck and the Hunt Location deck. Here is the backs of each of those. Let's start with the Hunt Location. Butcher's Roar. And onto the AI deck. Now these are one of the interesting ones for him, how he has, I believe, 4 of these. Yep, so these you can actually put on your characters, so as the things happen, they'll get whatever it is they have going. The other thing that you'll notice within these, you can see that there's S, A, and I believe L. Let's see. We'll see. B, basic, I believe. But we'll keep going. And they let you know what type of AI this is, because when you build the deck for the actual game, you put so many basic, so many advanced, so forth and so on, depending on the level of the monster that you are fighting at the time. Because there are a lot more cards here than you will actually need, and you will shuffle them together and then draw the correct number according to, come on, brand new cards want to stick together. You'll build the deck according to the level and where you are. So again, that adds to replayability within the game, that you don't know which of the cards you'll get at any given time. So where, especially when it comes to the white lion, the gazelle, the ones you'll hunt, it adds for replayability, because you never know what set of stats, what set of hit locations and AI cards you're going to get for that particular battle. So some may be a little more difficult, some may be a little easier, and I really like that. Up next we have the Gold Smoke Knight with his stats card, and then when we flip it over we can see what his basic action is. He has 2 decks, his hit location and his AI deck. And as you can see, all of these guys have different icons. I don't know what that would be called, but they all have their own little crest kind of here on the center of the card to differentiate, help you differentiate. Not only does it say their name here at the bottom, but with that crest you can easily tell them all apart. And it just looks cool. Well, we'll start here with the hit location. Now these ones look really cool. Just slightly different than all the rest. They're just regular. Be interesting to see how those work. And then of course we have the AI. And then here's an example. He actually has a legendary. So you can see that. And then his advanced. And his basic. Next we move on to the King's Man. Here we can see his stats card. And then on the back is his basic action. And then we have his 2 full decks, his hit location and his AI with his crest. We will start with the hit location. And I like these. There's some nice different again. These look like there's, is there 4 there? Did I miss one? Interesting. I would assume there would have been 4 because you have 4 characters. And there's that. And now on to his AI cards. like he has some specials as well. At least I assume S stands for special. And then some legendary. There's another special. Now we're on to his advanced. And finally his basic. And up next we have the hand with his stats card, and like all the others, the basic action on the other side. Here we have his two decks, his hit location and AI, where we can see his crest. We'll start with the hit location cards. I also like how we're seeing, as we're going through here, these little color coding items as we're getting through the cards. It really will help, I'm assuming, play the game, being that it just gives points of notice this, that there are differences here. And now his AI cards. And I believe here where you're seeing this break, this can happen, and then at this point you can stop and something else, if you have a card that might break into the action or something, where something else can happen before you carry on down to the next level, I think. If I remember, that's what that kind of thing does. Some special. I didn't see very many advanced here in his deck. And finally we have the Watcher with his stats card, and then on the back the basic action, and then his hit location and AI decks with his crest, and that one actually looks like the one that is on the box cover, so that's interesting to see how that all affects. Is he a main character in the game? I don't know. Is he kind of like an overlord watching everything you're doing? Is that the whole concept of the Watcher? I just find it interesting that his crest is the one on the box. And we will start with the hit location. And he has a lot of hit location cards. Whiteout, blackout, so that's interesting. Again, kind of different cards. I like when there are some different cards here kind of within the set. Outside of just kind of the normal ones. Because again, you can have that chance of having something unique or different coming up in your given game. And that's one of the things that people talk about with this one a lot, is how it does have a lot of replay value, being that, you know, there's only so much stuff in the box, but because there are so many different ways that the settlements can come out, or that the different ways that the hit locations will come, or the AI cards will come, that every game will feel different. And then I have the AI cards. One thing that is a little disappointing is here you can see, because these were kind of like separated from them, you get this and a little bend in the cards already. That would have been nice. Let's see. See, and you can see that. See, as I move some cards from here back, you can see there's now that little gap there, kind of showing how we got a bend going on. But so of course these are now going to be completely out of whack because I just kind of shuffled them a little. It looks like he has some specials as well. Again, assuming that's what it means. Exhale and inhale, kind of like that day and night that we just got finished. Looks like he has something very similar. That's kind of interesting. And my camera is freaking out.